I'm Debra, and I'm with Paul Brajkovich of Kumeu Vineyards. Paul is one of a family working at the winery. What's everyone do there?
Well, my eldest brother Michael is the winemaker. He's been there since 1982, and he's also
he's a master of wine.
Master of wine. He's New Zealand's first master of wine, which he achieved in 1989. And I have another brother, Milan, who looks after the vineyards. He's an engineer, so having an engineer in the family is quite handy, particularly around wineries.
When tractors break down, yeah.
Exactly. I did a marketing degree, and I look after the marketing and sales and exports. My sister Marijana, who used to be in the hotel industry, now works for us part-time doing finances. And my mother Melba is the boss. And she took over when Dad passed away in 1992.
So everyone answers to Mum.
Yes.
So what are some of the challenges for you in your role with the winery?
With sales, it's a case of making sure that the wine's up to the very, very high level that our customers expect, and then finding the pockets around the world that where they'll do well. So we've been in Hong Kong since the early 90s with Northeast, and they do a terrific job for us. But our biggest markets are the US, UK and Australia in terms of export, and then we still sell 50 to 60% at home as well.
Where exactly are the vineyards located?
They're located in Kumeu, which is 26 kilometres northwest of Auckland. And we've planted mostly Chardonnay. 60% of what we do now is Chardonnay. But we also have a little bit of Pinot Gris and Pinot Noir.
How would you describe your style of Chardonnay?
Very balanced. It's certainly when we first started making Chardonnay at Kumeu, the benchmark for us was fine white Burgundy. Now we're not making white Burgundy, we're making classic Chardonnays, and I think for us, barrel fermentation, wild yeast fermentation, and barrel aging on lees produce wines of quite lovely balance and character.
What does the barrel fermentation bring to the wine?
Well, we believe it brings a sort of a nice toastiness, but fermenting a wine in barrel is quite different from fermenting in tanks, where the tank fermentation can get quite reductive, quite steely, whereas the barrel fermentation just seems a bit rounder, a bit fatter. And we don't want to make the wines too fat, but I think with our barrel fermented Chardonnays, they have a lovely balance and a lovely zing on the finish. And people are quite surprised to find that they go through 100% malolactic fermentation, for example. But in our area, if we didn't do malolactic fermentation for these wines, they would be a bit too zippy.
Could you explain malolactic fermentation?
The malolactic fermentation essentially converts malic acid into lactic acid. So you're going from a very harsh acid, say, as you would find in apples, to a softer lactic acid. And for us, it just takes the edge off the acidity. And also that fermentation does tend to, for us, bring out some of the peachy fruit from the Chardonnay and just rounds things out very, very nicely. And it's that balance and texture that we're looking for in our wines.
Now you are located near the river, I presume.
Yes, it is a river. It's quite a small river, but it is a main waterway that runs through Kumeu and out to the ocean eventually. So that's why we took the name Kumeu River in the mid-80s, because originally the winery was called San Marino Vineyards, which was a throwback to the old days of the New Zealand wine industry, but it didn't really tell a story about the area itself. And Kumeu River was obvious to us because the river did run behind the property, and it has the word Kumeu, which is an indigenous place name for New Zealand. So it can only come from there.
How would you describe the style of your wines compared to Gisborne or some of the other wine regions producing Chardonnay in New Zealand?
Probably as closer to Gisborne, but not as rich. Gisborne certainly gets warmer than us. We are further north than, say, Melba, but we're probably a little bit more moderate in temperature in that because we're quite close to the ocean. We're only 26 kilometres from either coast. We tend to have moderate summers, so 25 to 28 degrees Celsius is going to be warm, whereas in Melba you're going to get 30 plus days reasonably often. And in the winter, while we do get frost, we don't get as cold as parts of the South Island. I think that does come through in the wines, and that they tend to be a little bit richer and not quite as steely as some of the Melba, say Chardonnays, or even further south. So it's I think the Kumeu region does have its own little distinctive character to it.
Thank you.
Cheers.